Hi there guys, welcome to this channel. What I'm going to do today is go through NotebookLM and OpenSpeech. OpenSpeech is a tool that I'm building. What I'm going to be focusing on is this feature in NotebookLM. Over here, this feature is called Audio Overview. And what it does is it generates a summary of the content that is narrated to you by AI voices. So whenever I'm on the move, on the commute, I'm usually converting some of my research papers or articles into some voice narration, and I'm listening to that on the go. I decided to see what it would look like if I was to implement this feature myself, and I wanted to see how complicated it will be. So today, I'm going to take you through what Audio Overview looks like in NotebookLM and how I approached it in OpenSpeech, which is a learning partner for knowledge seekers. And I'm going to go through some of the process and show some code just to give you an idea of how I'm thinking about things. I'm going to mention some of the tools I'm using. So let's go back into NotebookLM and do a search for an article. I'm looking for a very specific blog written by Langchain. It's called Agent Engineering, and it should come up very quickly. I'm going to go through the same process in OpenSpeech as well. Now, this is it right here, and I can just see some of these features. We're just going to import this into our environment. And here you can see we can now create some audio overview from this actual content that was ingested. And that's what we're going to do. If you click on the pencil icon, you can see different styles of the narration that could be created. And there are other configuration options like short, long, default. And there's a language option as well. And you can put in some custom instruction here. I'm just going to put in a very simple instruction, which is generate an overview of key points to make the listener conversation ready and prepared to deliver a keynote. That's just the instruction I'm going to use. And now we can generate. And you can see this is going to take a while, and we're going to come back to this in a few minutes. Let's do the exact same workflow in OpenSpeech. So I created OpenSpeech to make things easier in terms of digesting research papers, YouTube videos, or content on the internet. I've been working on it and using it for a few years. As you can see, I took the same approach where I search for agent engineering, and you can see it gives you results from YouTube. And we also have articles and papers. It's a tool I really built for myself, but it's useful for knowledge seekers as well. So we can see the same blog here, Agent Engineering, and we're just going to click on the blog and we can ingest it. So we're just going to ingest that now. And there we go. So the ingestion process was very quick. They ingested it. And now we can see the content. That was a very quick process. And we have the NotebookLM audio overview still getting processed there. One of the difference between OpenSpeech and NotebookLM is I'm straightforward with the actual content. You can chat with the content just like you can in Notebook. I think NotebookLM makes the conversation with the content the focal point. For me, the content itself is the focus, and note taking as well. You can do a bunch of highlights. I've shown this in previous videos as well. But in NotebookLM, you have to click to actually get into the content, and it's not really in a presentable format. And some people like this style, some people don't. But for me, I prefer this style. Let's go through this AI-narrated voice generation. I'm not calling my audio overview. I'm calling it talk through. That's because whenever I want AI to go through content, I usually tell it to talk through the content, or I want someone to talk through the content with me. That's how I came up with the name talk through. I'm going to generate a talk through and focus on single voice narration. The podcast style with audio overview is not something I'm fond of, because whenever I'm trying to consume educational content, the podcast style can work, but I see podcasts as more entertaining, right, in a sense, and not really taking it very seriously. Whereas the single narration gives me that audiobook kind of style and feeling where I'm purposefully listening to this audiobook to get information and it feels more educational. But let me know in the comment section which one you prefer. Do you want the podcast style where you have two narrators, or do you want this one narrator style? But over here you have different configurations such as the voice. Let's choose a conversational. Let's make it friendly. Choose a friendly voice, and we're going to keep it medium for the length of the narration. And we're going to make it professional. And now you can also add custom instruction just like you can in NotebookLM. So I'm just pasting the same instruction. I'm just going to generate the talk through. And again, this is going to take a few minutes. The one over in NotebookLM is done, and we can play it and see it.
Okay, so if you're out there building modern AI agents, I mean, the ones that are supposed to handle complex multi-step tasks, the ones that can reason and adapt and use tools, you've likely run into this. They're not using it. They're operating under a completely new set of principles.
They're practicing what is now being formed as agent engineering. It's the discipline you need, built specifically to accept, manage, and...
All right, so that's NotebookLM's audio overview. So here we have my one still going through. It might take a bit, but it's going to get generated and we can listen to it. Let's just go through what the flow looks like, actually, how I implemented this. In OpenSpeech, when I ingest the content, I'm actually converting the content into written forms. Sometimes it could be articles. I'm extracting all the text from the content. Or if it's a YouTube video or an MP3, I'm transcribing the audio file. And sometimes I'm detecting speakers as well on the audio file. But generally in the database, I have all of the text content from whatever content you're ingesting. I have my prompt wizardry, which is some prompt engineering techniques. I combine that with some of the user instruction passed in through the user interface and user configuration that was passed in through here. And we combine the prompts templates with the user instruction that we have placeholders where we can inject the user instruction and create this robust prompt for the LLM to generate the transcript. Now, let's see what that looks like in actual code. Here is the function generate talkthrough. And you can see we have some default values for the arguments we're passing in. Right here, I'm specifying some narration based on the number of content that we're passing into the context window. With OpenSpeech, you can have multiple contexts as well. So you can pass in multiple contexts. So the talk-through script that is generated needs to reference each of the content appropriately as well. So you have to make sure this is specified in the actual prompt you're passing to the LLM. I just say, hey, you're creating an audio walkthrough of a single piece of content. But one thing is I specified a style, which is like a podcast host, but particularly it's a solo narration. And we're talking through some of the key ideas from the content as well. Then this is generally just prompt engineering. I'm going to tweak it a bit just to make sure information sounds better. I've already identified some ways I can optimize this and change some of the prompt to make sure the narration, the generated script meets the specific style I'm expecting. So there's some critical formatting rules. There is narration styles as well. You can see this is where we're injecting some of the user pass configuration. And there's just a general structure of the narration. There's an opening, which audio overview also has key insights, connections insights, actionable takeaways, and closing. I have this hallucination prevention prompt as well, which basically says, don't make any statements that are not referenced in the original content. So I just do this to prevent any hallucination that could happen. The next, very simply, we just create a walkthrough, right? In this, I generate the actual content. This would have the actual script that we're getting from the database, and we could just pass it. If I have a function that we're able to remove any of the HTML tags that we have ingested early in the earlier process. And that's it. That's how I'm generating a talk through. It's mostly just prompting. And once I actually have this script that comes back from the LLM, I take the script and I send it over to DeepGram. I'm using DeepGram particularly for text to speech. So DeepGram, you can check it out, deepgram.com. They basically provide a bunch of voice AI features, speech to text, text to speech, voice agents, and audio intelligence. It's very quick and easy to use. So let's actually listen to what we have over on OpenSpeech and what we've generated. It's about 7 minutes long.
Today, we are exploring a concise but influential piece that makes the case for a new discipline, agent engineering. Let me walk you through what this content has to say about why teams need a different playbook for building reliable systems that use large language models, what agent engineering actually software and machine learning engineers write prompts and tracing tool calls, platform engineers building execute.
So I could just download an MP3 file over here and just put it on my phone and listen to it when I'm on the move. Job done. And it wasn't that difficult to create. Once we send it to DeepGram and we have and we get the MP3 file from DeepGram. We can actually store that and actually then also send that to the front end, and we can actually play that, and we have our talk through generated, and it is mind blowing. So it wasn't that difficult to implement. Most of the difficulties making sure the prompt is actually robust enough to capture the style that users are putting into the configuration. And I'm also thinking of other ways I want to improve the talk through features. I wanted to be able to reference current events such as search the internet and reference that as well. That could be useful as well. Or reference some of the other, maybe some adjacent or related topics as well to use for referencing in the talk through. I don't know, that could be an option. I'll decide, but that's it. Very quick and easy to implement this feature. You can go on OpenSpeech and try out this feature for free. There's a 7-day free trial. Let me know if you do try it out. Let me know what other configuration I should be adding in here. I'm thinking to add in a prompt library. I find myself changing some of this prompt sometimes. So I might add in some prompt library over here in OpenSpeech. Who knows? I'll try to implement that later. That's all I've got for you today. In another video, I'll probably go for another feature of OpenSpeech. But let me know what you think and if you use the tool. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and take care.